皆様、ご機嫌うるわしゅう。ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式ナビゲーターのバーチャルドールただきゆかです。日本初の VR 映画に特化した国際映画祭ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルは2月12日金曜日から21日日曜日まで10日間にわたって開催中です。オンライン会場で国内外から厳選した VR 映画を配信しているのに加えて、ほぼ毎晩トークイベントを行い、Zoom でのライブ配信と YouTube でのアーカイブ配信をしています。最終日21日日曜日のアワードセレモニーでは、配信作品の中から3作品にアワードが授与されるほか、審査員の園しおんさん、大宮エリーさん、福田敦さん、さらにアンバサダーのコムアイさんもご登場。もちろん僕も参加します。映画祭について詳しくはビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルの公式サイトをチェックしてくださいね。またこのライブ配信では日本語と英語の通訳が利用できます。画面右下の通訳ボタンを押して日本語か英語の通訳を選択してください。それではお待たせいたしました。今夜のイベントは VR がかき立てる多様な想像力、3名の著名監督に芥川賞作家が聞くと題して、おうちに行こう監督の清水隆さん、西村義弘さん、ブルーサーバル VR 始まりの空監督の上田慎一郎さんがご登壇。モデレーターは作家の上田隆弘さんです。上田さん、よろしくお願いします。
こんばんは、小説家の上田。
Good evening, I am Takashiro Ueda, an author. This is the second night of Beyond the Frame Festival, and the title is Diverse Imagination Stirred Up by VR. Now, I will be serving as a moderator, and I would just like to briefly introduce myself. In 2005, I started working for an IT company, and also a writer. And I'm very much interested in new technology. I've got the Mishima Award Prize, and it depicts about the development of IT. And in the book that I won the Akutagawa Prize, it was about the cryptocurrency. And so is my latest work. Now, the theme of this International Film Festival is VR, and I'm very much interested in and actually created a work. And now we have a festival here, so I'm very much interested in looking forward. And tonight, I'm going to talk to 3 famous directors about the works created with VR. And I would like to ask them, how did the VR technology inspire their imagination? And also, they have been taking live action films for screen, and what was the reaction when they first encountered VR? So creativity and technology and imagination, that's what I want to dig in deeply. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the 3 directors tonight. First of all, Mr. Takashi Shimizu. So could you turn on your camera, please? Shimizu-san. Good evening. Good evening. Nice to see you. So, Shimizu-san, at this International Film Festival, this Go Home is being screened, which you created together with Yoshihiro Nishimura. And we hear that you have to leave at 8 p.m. Yes, I am very sorry about that. I have to make some preparations for my next project, so I have very much limited time, but I'm looking forward to this 1 hour. So, let's concentrate the questions to you in the first hour. So could you, give us a word? Yes. I myself am a very much analog person, and it was very difficult for me even to have this background. And other directors have supported me very much, and now I have finally reached this stage. And since I'm very much involved in the horror movies, 3D or MXOD, those new geek technology seems to attract me. And I thought I'm not really good at this area, but I feel a big potentiality regarding VR. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to work together with other directors. So together with Nishimura-san, who has different way of expression, we worked together and it was very inspiring. And there is still much more to be developed. So I hope to hear about that from other directors as well. So I'm very much looking forward to this talk event. To set this background was really difficult for me. Really, thank you very much. And our next participant, panelist, is Mr. Nishimura. So could you turn on your camera, please? Hello, good evening. Good evening, I'm Nishimura. So Nishimura-san, together with Shimizu-san, you created Go Home. So nice to see you. Could you give us a word? Together with Shimizu-san. Well, we don't often hear co-directing. So I was expecting that we will have a fight, and we actually did fight every day. Yes, we were full of scars. Yes, we punched each other, beaten each other. No, that's a joke. Sorry. You cannot punch each other because this is Zoom. So Nishimura-san, I hear that your friends are having a drink behind you. Yes, yes. All the technology people, you shouldn't be doing that. So looking forward to this event. And our next participant is Mr. Shinchiro Ueda, the director. So please turn on your camera. Nice to see you. I'm Ueda. Nice. So Ueda-san, you created the the Blue Thermal VR, which is one of the competitions. Is this a feature film? But before we go into that, could you give us a word? Yes, this Blue Thermal VR, until I created this, I've never seen VR myself. And since creating this Blue Thermal VR was the first encounter with the VR. So I have very limited experience, and I'm very much looking forward to learning from all of you. Ueda-san is very much famous for One Cut of the Dead, very gimmick. So I believe that VR really suits your type of the creation. So we look forward to talking with you. So from now on, one by one, I would like to ask you to talk about or do some presentation about the works that you have presented to this festival. And then based on what you have said, we'd like to have some discussion and go deep into today's theme. And also, we are entertaining questions from the viewers. So if you have anything that you would like to ask or anything that you would like to really talk about, then there is a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And then you can type in your question there. And regarding Q&A, we will entertain them towards the end of this session. So Shimizu-san, you don't hear that you don't have much time, and you say that you're a very much busy person. So I think you should start right away. Well, don't put pressure on me. You are busy, right? Well, yes, sort of. Yes, thank you. So Shimizu-san and Nishimura-san. Well, Shimizu-san can only be with us until 8 p.m. So let's talk about Go Home, one of the competitions.
いやいや、
One cut of the home. No. Don't mix the two works together. Nishimura-san, you're too early to go see now. So it's go home, right? Sorry, it's really difficult to tell jokes in remote. Now, this title was decided by Nishimura-san. Yes, that was the case. So if you just listen to the title Go Home, I think you would think something or expect something, a really heartwarming story. But I don't know how much you are aware with this, but I very much focus in the horror movie, and Nishimura-san is very much focused on violence. So it's not what you expect. And just, I think Nishimura-san can briefly speak about the story. In the tram car, something happens. It's a horror that happens inside the tram car. You're not really good at explaining the story. Yes, together with Nishimura-san, we created this Go Home. And unlike film or drama, there isn't any background explanation or emotional thing. We decided to cut that part. So we just wanted some power or some to have people really be scary and enjoy that.
So it's like a jet coaster movie, a jet coaster ride. So people who don't like scary movies, I won't recommend this. But we have a lot of gimmicks that lead to feeling scary, and something that looks like reality ends up into something that is unreal, and that's the theme, and that's the concept behind this piece. So it's a jet coaster ride type of movie, and in the amusement park, the excitement that you feel at the amusement park. And also there are 3 places where it goes different ways, and I believe that you can also enjoy where the passage parts. And so the next time you see it, you will see a different story branching out. So the beginning is this very horror, scary thing that is typical of Shimizu-san. And then after that, you get this jet coaster type of ride that is typical of my movies. And I believe that our work and collaboration went very well. Well, I tried to make certain parts quiet and calm, and then Nishimura-san brings along different developments one after another, and therefore balancing the 2 acts were quite difficult. I sometimes said that this is just an entrance, so we have to stop here. And then this is right after the jet coaster ride, so we need to be quiet a little bit. So at the beginning, we had such kind of discussions. Yes, indeed, we did. But on the script, we really didn't know what the movie would look like or what would happen in the movie. Nishimura-san's script didn't really explain what was supposed to happen on the screen. So, and once you have the shooting, it's not going to be on this 2-dimensional screen. You would have everything all around you because it's 3D. And starting from the script, we started to imagine what we will be seeing. Well, Shimizu-san's movies are usually very solemn and very serious. So it's very nice that we had someone very serious on board. So you decided right away that this was going to be a horror movie? Yes. And we wanted to use VR for this horror movie because we thought that it would be something interesting. As a producer, I had that idea. Yes, we started with this horror movie idea. And because I've been focusing on horror movies, I believe everybody sees me as a horror movie guy. So now in the digital 3D era and ODX, every time something new in technology comes up, people call on me to ask me if I would like to try it out. But I believe there are a lot of new technologies coming out, but I don't like those new technologies actually. I am anti technology, kind of. So I wasn't really sure if I could do that, but with digital 3D, and as I tried it out, there were a lot of things that I learned through this, and I believe that I found something that I could do with 3D. And by trying out this movie in Odaiba at the Miraikan, it's being shown. We have another movie. It's a science movie. It's a movie about a planetarium. I was able to receive this a request to make this film, and that was really interesting. So I was wondering why people called on me. But it was because I had this 3D movie, even if it was a horror movie. And so, horror, VR, I thought that this was really coming now. And Nishimura san had another live action VR movie, and we knew each other. And I thought that with Nishimura san, maybe this very quiet feeling of horror will be brought somewhere else. Well, my first film was about a man in a bar who didn't want to pay for what he'd eaten, and because of that, he gets his body cut up because he isn't paying. Well, cutting up bodies. Yes, he gets his arms and limbs cut up, and in the end, he gets his neck cut off or head cut off, and that is thrown away. Well, sorry, you look scary enough to be actually doing that. And I am a horror movie guy, and I'm afraid that people will have a misunderstanding about myself. But with VR, in horror movies and action movies, I believe VR could really bring out something really interesting. So in that sense, I was really having fun working together with Nishimura-san. By trying out something, I also got interested in using the technology for different things. So you said you were anti new technology, but you do try it out. Well, yes, it doesn't feel like I am really actively pursuing new technology, but if I get an idea about what I can do with new technology, I started feeling that I should try it out. So you have a lot of new things coming up, and it feels that you can't really use it. So just painting white children and women, and that would be okay. So then, when you are offered the opportunity to use new technology, if you get some ideas, then you will try it out. Yes, usually it's when I get approached by others and I get an idea. I think that by trying it out, it would lead to new paths. Well, yes, Shimizu-san came up with a lot of new ideas as we worked together, and sometimes it made me feel as if, why are you saying that now? Because we can't do it now. But these new ideas were really great. Well, the CG division may have had some trouble with that, but well, let's keep that for the panel discussion. So thank you. Now moving on to Ueda-san. Can you tell us about your VR movie? Well, the Blue Thermal VR is a 10-minute long short film. It's a virtual reality project for Saitama. And this was made as part of that project in Saitama. I was approached and I was asked if I would be interested. And I have never seen a VR movie back then. And Shimizu-san also said this, but by experiencing VR, I was thinking about maybe this would expand what I can do with other movies. And so I took the chance and tried it out. So I went to this internet cafe to experience VR, and I thought that this was interesting. Therefore, I accepted and I created this short film. The story actually is based on a manga. Uh, it's about young people flying gliders, the airplanes without engines. It's about an aviation group at a university, and the first story is actually the story that is depicted in my 10-minute long film.
However, the way you represent or present or the way you think is completely different in the actual theatrical cinemas and the VR. And first, I wrote a playwright based on the comic, but I realized that it's not going to be interesting in VR. The main character in the first episode, something happens to the main character, and I wrote a play that we are watching as a third person, but I realized that it's not going to be interesting. So I decided that this someone is a person who is going to enter the club. So I rewrote it that the viewers will be experiencing what the boy is going through. So the viewer happens to join a club and happens to be on a glider. So the story is about that. I depicted that within 10 minutes. Well, I watched this. I watched your work. So, well, flying the sky. So it puts much emphasis on the experience, I thought. And probably you touched upon this a while ago. Well, flying the sky. Was it something that was the premise? No, we weren't told that we should fly the sky. I don't really remember exactly, but the comic, because they wanted to have a VR work on this comic. So yes, I think the goal was to fly the sky. And I've never been on glider myself. So I started out by trying a glider, and it was so scary. It looks scary, yes, indeed, because it's like on a paper plane, no engine. And first, you have to sign a contract. Oh my God, that's scary. So yes, you have to sign a contract. And so I experienced. And then I thought that by doing so, we can have the viewers experience that? Was it so scary? At the beginning, it was so scary, but once you're out of the sky, you're no longer scary. So you experience yourself, and that sense, and the VR work that you created afterwards. Do you think? Do you think you've been able to re- actually recreate your feeling? Well, of course, it falls short of the actual experience. But I think I've been able to provide some kind of an experience. S- So, as a simulation, probably you can provide that to the pilots who are undergoing training. I think there is some direction that we can use in order to get the license of the glider. Was there any offer? No, I didn't get any offer about that. But the, for those people who are too afraid to try out the glider, I think I thought that this will be a very good experience, sort of a near experience to those. Because I think there are many people who are very much interested in doing the glider, but too scared to do that. So it's kind of a game of a simulation. And I thought that VR is a very good way to provide that. So, how was this screened? For example, can the viewers feel the wind and they wear goggles? And is there any um, air conditioner or something that serves up wind? Well, if you do that, I think you can provide that. Although you don't do that, our work, my case, even before doing this work with Nishimura-san, well, I have another project which we haven't realized yet, but as in, we want to create some kind of an entertainment or amusement facility which can be entertained in many places. And we have had that plan, and that was too difficult to realize. But then the project with Nishimura-san came. Yes, at the beginning, our work was to have 4-ton trucks and then create seats and then have the rain. And that was the type of the experience that we wanted to offer. Then the trucks would go at many places, and we thought that they could travel around Japan. But then we were told that it's going to be very too close space. Yes, because when we first started, there was no COVID-19, but it, it's going to create a closed space. So after Corona, we cannot do that. And my work was presented to Cannes Festival. And there, I experienced a lot of VR. For example, the ones with the smell. What kind of a smell? Well, like the rose smell aroma. Oh, beautiful ones. Yes, that was beautiful. And also the works with wind that you can feel, and also game type. Like those doing VR can enjoy the VR while uh, enjoying the conversation as well.
あ、ちょっとよろしいですか。一応
Excuse me.
ご紹介っていうところはこれで終了。まあ、そのままで、
So,
こんな感じで、
so much for the introduction.
雑談の方に
So we'd like to move on to chatting.
よろしくお願いします。
Is that okay? It seems that we are already in the panel discussion. Well, yes.
この流れでいきましょう。
So let's just move on to the panel discussion, okay?
一応じゃあ、最初の質問僕から投下します。
So let me ask you the first question. Now, VR. You use the VR. How did you come to know VR? What was your first encounter with VR? That is my first question to all of you. How about you, Shimizu-san? The very first encounter was that before this VR technology that we know of today, it was revived a film presented with Schwarzenegger. There is a scene where one used this machine, head machine, total recall. Total Recall. I told you that's the name of the title of the film. Nishimura-san, are you okay? So it's Total Recall and it depicts the near future. But if you go to a normal office, suddenly when the scene changes, a beautiful woman comes to you with a sexy manner, and then in another scene, next scene, actually, it's the employee who's wearing this head machine looking at that. So in that near future world, there's a virtual space, and all people can enjoy that virtual space. And there was a scene in that. And I thought that maybe that's the way this future will be. And I think that future is really here. So that was your first encounter, right? And how did you feel when you first know that such a thing was being invented? Well, in my case, in Doraemon's movie, there are glasses and which enable to see everything. That's sort of 3D. And also we saw the 3D in Jaws. And all those things will be created 3D. Yes, all those things were created 3D. And in Laserdisc, we had their 3D version. And also there was one in TV. It's curved and looks like 3D. And there's an analytic method in the glasses. I think there is a limit in 3D technology because it's how to deceive your brain.
And as Ueda-san made, maybe you can make something so that people can experience something without going out there, and you can also make something like us, creating an experience that you can't have or you shouldn't have. So I believe it's all about film ethics as well, about what you make. Well, VR doesn't have any film ethic committee to supervise or to regulate. So it's really free. You can do anything freely. Well, when you say that, there are people who will misunderstand what you mean. You shouldn't be saying that. Well, I think it's easy to understand VR by you saying that we can experience something that we shouldn't experience. Yes, you are always serious. And I actually saw the suicide forest village. Well, Nishimura-san, you shouldn't be saying that. But it was a very interesting film. And what was it that you went to see, Ueda-san? Don't be asking questions that are not easily answered. Well, and this is going to be archived. But in any case, with VR and also with 3D, horror and pornographic areas are, I believe, the first ones. When new technology comes out, we try out these new things, just like the blue and red glasses that were used for the 3D films. So I believe that maybe these obscene or erotic films are the first, and it's really important. And that's why I believe Ueda-san also went into these small rooms where you can see the videos. No, I didn't say I went into these small rooms that you closely watch these videos. So you didn't go? No,
行ってないんですか？
no, I didn't go. So then cut out this portion when you archive this film.
で、もう一つ真面目
Okay, then another serious question here
お聞きしたいんですけれど
for
も、
Nishimura-san.
普段、これまでも
So usually, I believe you said that you have experienced VR movies before, but
2D のも撮ってきた中で、
but you have also had the 2D films. So what were the difficulties in trying out 3D? Well, I believe it's the same with Shimizu-san and Ueda-san, but you can't really cut things. If it's an ordinary film, you say that you get this close up here, but you can't really do that because it's all up to the viewers looking at what they want to see. We can't really show them what we want to show them. So it's very difficult to produce these films and to understand how the audience will respond. So let's say that you want people to see one section. You have to make them look that way. You don't want them to look the other way. Yes, I tried to devise a lot of things, trying to get people to view what you want them to view. And that's all you can do. And everything is shot in one cut.
視線誘導を使って、僕が見たホラーだと、
So the horror film that I saw, first I was made to look backwards, and then once again when I faced the front, I saw a ghost in front of me. But people would not look back when they are guided towards that because they know that something's going to appear in front of them once they look back. So we have to understand and read what the audience will do if they don't follow what we want them to do. Well, I tried that with the Suicide Forest Village as well, but we tried these tricks and the audience gets really used to these things, and therefore the audience sometimes say that I knew this was going to happen in that scene. And sometimes we make those scenes so that the audience can say that because we want them to say that, to make them feel superior over the directors who made the film. So sometimes we make it so that about 60% of the audience would understand our intention in making a film. But in VR, I believe the extent of what you can do with that is really extensive. Well, in the Suicide Forest Village, which leads to your next movie, Howling Village, there were these scenes, right?
言いたくなる、嬉しい。
そうですね。なんか
And people would want to talk about that.
の人間心理といいますか。
Yes, that's people's
まあそれはVR でも体験するっていういかに
that is what people want to do.
体験近い
And so we want to make it as close as to real experience as possible, and also give them this excitement after the film and how to deceive the brain in watching these films.
世界とこう
So
体験ものとでまた違うと思う。
I believe that's the difference with ordinary movies and also with the VR. With animation,
もの CG だったりとか
with CG, and
実写だとやっぱりそのカットできないこともそうですし、
but in live action, you won't be able to cut out these scenes, and therefore,
足まで映ってしまう。
sometimes if you have a camera on a tripod, maybe the tripod also would appear in the film. And
入れないっていうのがすごい不安じゃなかったですか？
yes, I believe it was scary not having the cameraman
本当に映ってるんだろうかっていう不安
sometimes because he might also appear in the film, and maybe we have to cut.
お家にこのカメラマン入れ
I believe you said that there were no cameramen,
ちょっと素人には今言った
which is a bit difficult for us to understand.
どういう状況
実写で撮る
So
と
in a live action film
とか
or with CG,
作れるものであれば
if we can create this VR spaces
中で
inside a computer, you can create everything. So
確認ってできるんですけど
we can check and see, but in live action,
映りたくないものもたくさん映って
there
実写も通って
are sometimes a lot of things that you don't want included in that cut, like a train might pass by, or because you can't really have an ideal situation 360 degrees all around you. But in
足元ま
the actual film, you would see 360 degrees all around you, and maybe
普段だったらついて張り付いて
usually you will be checking along with the camera person. But we can't really see because you might be in the film. You have to hide somewhere so that you don't appear inside the final piece.
ライトを立てた
And also the lights, maybe the light would also appear in the scene, and we don't want that happening. So
考えると最終的にはやっぱり役者一人しかそこに
you can only have the actor in the scene.
種類によっては
And depending on the camera,
下までカメラがある
sometimes you have
カメラの三脚の
the tripod for the camera, and sometimes the tripod also appears in the scene. And
それがすごく
that's the difficulty in live action.
ありえない状況を作らなきゃ
So we have to create a situation that is unreal.
監督でやってる時に
So when you are directing,
それで
that's what you're facing. So let's say, Ueda-san, you take live action films, and I also started out with live action films.
どこで
So
OK するかって
when is it that you can give the okay, the thumbs up? You have to ask the actor himself.
どうだった
Ask him, do you think that you were able to say all the lines that you were supposed to say? You end up asking that to the actors.
役者が判
Well,
断してこうやって
yes, the actor sometimes have to decide whether or not it was okay.
クロスの下に隠れてモニターとかして
Sometimes I was under the tablecloth, and monitoring the scene.
監督
But you really have to do that. Otherwise,
自分が分かんなくなる
because there is no criteria when the directors will say, okay.
下手すると
And the actors,
状況下で
in sometimes, they do the acting without seeing any staff or director.
ことを自分で決めなきゃ
And they have to decide themselves when to do what.
倒れたとか
So
何かが
if something falls
起こったっていう
or if some
出してくれる人も
phenomenon happens, there
勝手に
there will be sometimes no one who gives that. So the actors are doing just something on their own. And if someone passes by,
っていう状況になっちゃう
then and you try not to have that person in, then
演じる側も
it ends up having a situation where someone is doing on their own. So in live action is really difficult with VR, but it's very worth doing, and I think there is a lot more to develop.
それぞれの現
So
場の立ち振る舞いが全然違う
directors, I believe that what you do is completely different at shooting. Yes, it's sort of like a theater, creating a theater work. I really like to see that. Yes, it's just test, test, test. You just have to keep on doing. That's right. Since my work was on glider,
本番テストばっかりっていうか
we had so many tests because we have to really fly that glider.
やるぐらいだったら本番だよってことで
So, well, if it's a test, then it's going to be a real take.
役者が演じて
So
で
you put the install the camera on the glider, and the actor goes out in the sky, and you ask the actor, "How was it? Is that it?" On the when the glider is in the air, then we wait for the plane to return and do the preview
戻って
and see whether it's okay. So all you have to do, or all you can do, is just confirm
なので
how all the image was shot. That's right. And I wanted the sound of the sky and the plane,
あのグライダー界
but we didn't have the camera soundman.
とかします
So we had the image and then combined with the sound later on.
感覚的なもので言うとその
Now,
上田監督撮られたグライダー
in terms of the senses, the glider by Ueda-san and our horror work, they have to be live action, right? Of course, there are things that have been taken with CG, and there are many cases that I use CG. But for example, the main character, in case of our work, there is a girl who is scared, and that's CG. And all her expression, scary expression, is CG. And you know that the person created by CG is scary. And also, all the ghosts are CG. But if that becomes too explicit, then it's not really exciting. So all those things, if those become, all of them become CG, those really raw, nervous feeling will not be conveyed. And what we want to do is to provide some experience, but sometimes it ends up not really exciting. So in the end, we have CG, but towards the end, the camera moves around at enormous speed in the graveyard. But in the beginning, Shimizu-san said that he wanted to shoot that scene in a real graveyard. And I said that, well, that's going to be so difficult because we don't have much that big graveyard. But yes, he was very much particular about the live action. Well, the horror and flying the sky, those experiences, I believe that they are really suitable to VR. But what are other genre that's really suitable to have the VR? Well, if I am to do the next project, what I would like to do is, well, human eyes can only look before them, and behind them is a dead angle. But still, we take 360 degrees. So thinking about that, well, it may be horror again or suspense again, but I want people to look behind. And this is going to be very important. In case of horror, the scariest thing is that whatever road or street it is, in the nighttime, someone is following you. And that's the scariest part. And there's something that only the VR can do. In human eyes, it's not what's happening before you, but I want to create a situation where you have to look behind you, turn around, and that is going to be very interesting. Well, you're forcing people to do that. So you try to force someone in your creation. Yes, yes. Call me Nishimura behind. Oh, that's really easy to understand. Nishimura behind. And I think, well, human can only see what's before them, in front of them, but the potentiality is behind us. So I want to force people to look behind. And it may be a little bit different, but Rabbit 3D, I created a film starred by Mitsushima-san. Oh, I don't know that. Well, you know that. And cameraman was Christopher Doyle. He's a world-famous person, and I partnered up with him. We went to the amusement park and carousel, and we shot with a 3D camera. And the carousel is going towards certain direction, and we were checking with the monitor going the other direction, and it really made us sick, ill to look at the monitor because the brain has to do different things. And in case of 3D, we switch the image for the right eye and the left eye, and then it made us really dizzy. Why did you have to switch the right image and the left image? Well, I just wanted to do that. It's your sort of a hobby or interest, right? Well, because everything was so new to me, so I wanted to try out many things. And I think that I've been able to be skillful at the digital 3D. So, well, VR has a lot of potentialities. Yes, you can make people go look up or look down. Probably war movies and Monster Panic use VR a lot.
いろいろ現像の今近さんとかでもいろいろ見せて
Imajika-san, Imajika of Endo showed me a lot of works, and also in the United States, there are serial drama utilizing VR, but all of them were really boring
は実写なんで実写だと
because they are live action, so it's so difficult because cameras cannot move around.
空飛んでたり
And if you're like flying in the sky, a glider, then at least you're moving around. And also in our case, a tram car moving. So the scenery changes and it makes it a little bit interesting. But for example,
ど真ん中にカメラがあるだけ
if you have a camera in the corridor of the hospital and there are no directors and just the actors going in and out and with no instruction, it was so boring.
日本映画で言うと
In case of Japanese films,
日本ではそ
how
んな
would you compare?
ないんじゃない
I've never seen any boring Japanese films before.
どれを出させようとするの
You're trying to force me to say something, right? I can feel that.
人間ドラマとか恋愛も
But human drama or love stories, I believe that's so difficult to utilize in VR.
VR 連続ドラマって
So the boring VR serial drama, what was the story about? Well, we couldn't even follow the story because the camera stayed in one place, and people with same people just came and came in and out, and sometimes things moved around, and the viewers
見てしまうみたいな
just look at them.
けど
And there were some moments like that,
怖いとこなんだよねこれ
but
よくわかんないっていう
we can't really tell that. Probably this is supposed to be the scary moment, but we can tell that.
恋愛もの難しいかもっておっしゃったんですけど
So you said that maybe love stories are difficult, but there was, I believe many people are thinking about this, but you have these love simulation games, but maybe you might be able to do something like that. Have this experience of dating someone.
AV だろ AV だろでも AV だよね
AV じゃなくて
So once again, you're talking about pornography. No, no, no. Going out on a date together with a celebrity, kind of.
ストーリー化して普遍的に楽しめるというかその
So maybe that could be turned into a story,
恋愛ものとして成立
a love story. But that part may be very difficult.
それはやっぱ映画でやった方がいい
Well, maybe love stories are better in usual films.
役割にしとくというか
It's difficult to have try to incorporate the audience into that story. For example, you might say that, hey, you look great in that outfit, and maybe the audience is wearing pajamas, and that's not going to work out.
なんか有無を言わせずになってしまいますもんねやっぱりそのストーリー展開
So the story itself will just force its way through.
立ち得ない立ち位置で言うと神様目線で
And it's like you have this God's perspective looking down,
今の人類が発生している
and you
を見せてさらに
you might
人類がこの
have this view of Earth being created and the humankind coming out, and
出ないみたいなものだったらもしかしたら
maybe such
面白い
stories could be interesting.
まあそういうことですよねでもそういうことなんでしょう
Well, yes, I believe so.
僕の乗客をこう体験してみる
So, like experiencing being on the Titanic,
過去の事実だったらもし
or maybe following facts from history
想像してるっていうのが
might be one way to use VR,
世界を体験するとか
or to experience the deep seas. May I cut in here?
超売れっ子の清水さん
Shimizu-san, I understand that you are busy and you might have to leave now.
最後
So,
の一言言葉があれば
one last comment from Ms. Shimizu-san. Maybe
ちょっと待って
all of you go away.
清水さん
Well,
最後ですね
uh, Well, seriously,
まあこれ
Shimizu-san, for people who want to create VR, what advice do you have for these people?
僕もアドバイスできるほど
I'm not really experienced in VR to give out any advice, but
監督と作ってみて
I just tried it out with Nishimura-san, and
作ってみてなんで
I also tried creating the planetarium thing in 3D. But
できんじゃないって思い立って
if you have a bit of an idea,
中学生でも中学生でも
um, even if you are a junior high school student or elementary school student, maybe you're the only one with that idea. So if you come up with an idea,
大事な気がして
I think
なってから
having that idea is very important.
なんか VR っていう技術を
So
僕ら子供の頃なかったんで
we didn't have VR when we were kids.
またこんな技術持ってんのこういうことしないのって思う
So kids nowadays
ことあると思
might come up with new ideas about how to use the new technology VR. So maybe you can
う発表できる場を作っても
tell people what your ideas are, and probably those ideas would be created into something great.
が大人から出ると面白いし
So I'm hoping that the adults around these kids can bring out
頭にチー
their ideas, bring the kids into your team. I'm hoping that because we now have the internet and we have these virtual meetings, we hope that we can all get together and bring out great ideas to make something big
コンテンツの面白さを引き出すっていう意味でもそういう
and to create
柔らかい
in
話だったら
interesting contents
いいんじゃないか
by
な
having diverse people on the team.
あの VR って技術そのものが
So the VR technology itself
作り手にあれ視聴者にかき立てるものっていうのは確実にある。これまでだと
is really stirring something up exciting within people who produce films and also the audience. Yes, I think so.
でどうしても
So I have been in the film industry, so
とか
I tend to focus too much on film or to look at the rectangular screen.
ってきてたんですけどそれだけ言う
But
たらちょっと
if we just stick to that, it's going to be boring and we would allow a lot to go to waste. So
あのカメラを止めるなみたいに
just like
人の面白さとか役者のこの
the plot that was really interesting in Ueda-san's films and also trying to bring out
これだけのお客
the really interesting things. Your one cut of the dead was really a long run, and
さんとかですら
Hiroshi Tachi
なっちゃいそうだな
was afraid that great stars like him would disappear after your film was screened.
言わせる力を
But your film had the power to make these
さらにそこ
film actors say that. And now we have VR coming in, and there'll be great many things that we can do.
次に行っちゃったり飽きちゃったりしてるだけじゃないかっていう
Maybe we get tired of using great technologies before we really fully bring out their potential. Well, thank you very much. I believe Shimizu-san will have to leave us now here.
上田監督
Oh, you're going away?
かける言葉があれば
So, Ueda-san, do you have any final message to Mr. Shimizu
送る言葉
to send him off?
最後にね、最後燃やす前に。
Yes, one last word.
燃やす前ってなんですか
僕、清水監督、今日お会いするというか、まあ、こう、
Well,
ご一緒するのは初めて。
this is the first time I'm meeting you, but
映画が
the movies that you make are really horror movies. So
少し
I was
怖い方なのか
thinking that you might be a scary kind of person.
この意見
You're talking like a layman.
そうですそういう人はなんていうんですかね、大体こう優しいっていうのも分かってるんですけど、ただ
I do understand that people who make these horror movies are really kind and gentle, and I didn't think that you would be this kind of quiet man. Are you really a quiet kind of man? Yes, indeed.
僕だというか、すごい、はい。すごい嬉しいし、カメラを止めるなんてこととか言っていただいて、すごい。
And I'm really happy that you talked about my one cut of the dead. I'm hoping that we can meet in person someday.
無視するからだよ。無視するからいけないんだよ。
So you should have just called upon him. You ignored him. No, I saw Ueda-san, but because he's too famous, I didn't think that it was appropriate for me to approach you.
と一緒にカメラを止めろっていう映画作りましょう。
Well, I will create a new film which is no cut of the dead, which wouldn't show nothing.
何も映ってないでしょだってカメラを止めろ。
Well, if you are going to shut the camera down, it means that nothing will be captured by the camera. We will just see this black scene, or maybe like blue.
たまにこうやって
Every now and then, you hear somebody shouting, "Stop the camera!" and you just hear the director shouting out. Because one cut of the dead, actually, Japanese title is "Don't Stop the Camera." Nishimura-san, I believe you won't have any final words for Mr. Shimizu.
こういう機会もらったからちょっと
Well, since we have this opportunity,
仮想通貨で儲ける方法を聞いとくわ。
I wanted to ask our MC about how to get rich using bitcoins.
きょとんとするから。
I believe you are astonishing everybody who is watching.
清水さん。
すみません、忙しぶ
Okay.
ってるわけじゃない。
Well, I'm not pretending to be busy, but
清水さんお時間ですので、
I need to go now. So thank you very much, Shimizu-san.
いつのこう最近でいただいた質問にも答えたりして。
And yes, I wanted to answer some questions that were sent in.
直接メール
Well, maybe you can just mail them or
そっちに直接送ってもらいます。
send a message through line or whatever so that you can contact the people who sent you questions.
これ忘れ突っ込みましたけど。
Well, and this is going to be archived anyway.
はい、今日はありがとうございました。
But thank you. And sorry that I have to leave you now.
続きお願いします。
So I'll leave the rest to the two gentlemen here. Just make sure that you please the judges
西村さん
なんないもん。
for the competition.
絶対なんないよ。
Well, I don't think I can do that. Thank you and goodbye.
すみません、上田さん。失礼します。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Goodbye, Ueda-san.
帰ったよ。帰っちゃったよ。
So he's gone. So from now on, we have like to ask two of you. Now, Nishimura-san and Ueda-san, have you met each other? Yes, we have.
はいはい。
We met at the film festivals, and well, but you don't really team up to create something, right? No, but Ueda-san,
短編とかでみんなでやったりとかしてるでしょ。
you work together with the other directors in the short films, right? Yes, I have experience of creating a feature film with 3 directors, but that's quite rare. Like Nishimura-san and Shimizu-san or myself doing like co-directors will be very difficult. You have to be really good friends. You have to have a close relationship with the other director. Do you end up fighting with each other if you work together? Well, I just get perplexed or dumbfounded to the other person. And you have to really fight before you actually start shooting. You have to say what you want to say, because the worst thing that could happen is that you fight when the actual shooting has started. Yeah, I see. Because in case of a live action, the shooting starts when the sun rises, and there is no time to fight each other.
なんかさっき帰り際に清水隆が言ってたけ
And Shimizu said when he was just leaving, but
ど、まあ僕の年はもう生まれた時
my age,
こう
when we were born,
豆腐屋が豆腐売ってたりとか
the tofu shop would just come selling the tofu and on the streets, and we would go out with a vessel container, and there were no cell phones. So this VR, this 360 degrees camera is already very small and something that's really handy these days. And children now have that, all those cell phones and computers. And what kind of an idea do they come up with? I think that's the most important thing in utilizing this VR.
なんかもうわからないというか、
Because probably we can give some advice, but the ideas
僕は偏っちゃいますね。僕
will be very one-sided
映画として
as film
見ちゃうから。
because we tend to look at it as a film.
知識と経験がある分、それが邪魔に
Because you have knowledge and experience, sometimes that hinders.
やっぱり
That's
どういう
right.
ことなんだろうっていうことってね、結構
Because
辛いよね。だからもう本当に
sometimes very difficult.
あるんだったら本当に後ろからとか上からとか
Because you can shoot
考えてやるっていう
from behind or from above. And so I can give some ideas,
基本的な
but more than that, something very basic or fundamental.
あるんじゃないっていうこと
For
の
example,
根本のアイデア
probably a new way to propose the viewpoints.
若い子の方が
I think those could come out from younger generation
固定観念がある程度ついてしまってます。
because we have some kind of a stereotype or fixed notions. Yes,
こうあるべきだみたいな
because the story should be like this and there's a notion like that. Or we tend to say that, no, that's impossible.
思うかもしれないけど面白いかな
And
あると思う
sometimes I feel that that could be impossible, but could be very interesting. Oh, yes.
まあ、それと VR ネイティブという
And VR native,
当たり前に普及し
the
てる
VR terminals,
すごい
could be just part of a life.
出てくるかもしれない
I think a future children, future generation would be like that, and I think they will come up with new ideas.
まだでもなんか VR って
But still,
言ってる感じはないです。
VR hasn't become very, very major
僕も
or mainstream. I myself, I've heard of VR, yes,
作るまで見たこと
but up until I created the blue thermal, I've never seen that. So where can we see VR? And I don't know much about that.
が高いんですよね。
And there is a high wall, high barrier
可消壁
to be involved in VR. So probably we should lower the threshold. For example, theme app or some kind of a standard gear should appear, I believe.
視聴者の方から質問がその件で
We have some questions from the viewers on that.
観光工業スタイル
What kind of an entertainment style would be typical or mainstream?
そういう Netflix の VR 版みたいなプ
The
ラット
VR version of Netflix, and if we have that kind of a platform,
じゃないかなと思うんです
I think it'll be fine. Probably there is already a platform, but it's not well known yet.
まあまずゴーグル買う
First of all, you have to buy this goggle.
でも多分なんか
But probably,
みたいのでも見ようと思えば
if you, well, 100 yen shop a goggle is good enough.
iPhone につけて
You can install that on iPhone,
でもなんかそれをなんか
but
みんなが使ってる定番アプリとか定番
I think we have to have some standard app or standard gear, and that's not really well known yet. I think we should create that and have this VR version of Netflix. Then I think it's going to be a very strong standard platform. Then I think that will make the VR a mainstream.
実は VR ヘッドマンディスプレイ
The person who asked this question uses this headgear.
が
And is that the direction?
で
Or do we go to the cinema-like places?
さらに動画
Is it cinema or is it going to be distributed online? I don't know that.
映画館で
But if we have to go to cinema and enjoy VR
まあまあディズニー
as a group, well, yes, in Disneyland, I've seen that.
それがどうなのかなとは思うけどね。
But I don't really know if that's the direction that we should go. Yes, probably it's more likely that we enjoy the VR at home. And SNS, VR, we have Clubhouse these days. So if we have a SNS using the VR, I think it's going to make a VR spread faster. Everyone creates this avatar and everyone gets together.
じゃなくて体験型のアトラクションの延長線上みたいな形で
Or probably it's going to be on the extension of the entertainment experience. And you go to, and you give a role to each person, like you look to the right and you look to the left, and everyone wears a headgear and enjoy together as a group. Well, anyway, in the end, it's going to be Ready Player One, a film. The resolution should be higher. Then I think it's going to be completely different. I think it's going to be completely different in 10 years' time. But VR, in the end, I think that is the ultimate goal. So that's why we just keep on doing this. So it's a little bit scary because it's going to be really difficult to make difference between the reality and the virtual reality. But the resolution is still not that high. Yes, right now. So there is a part that makes you not want to see all the time. Yes, because in the in the PlayStation number one, I thought that the resolution was very high. But of course, if we look at the PlayStation 1 now, all the movements are so stiff. And of course, PlayStation 5 is much better. I understand that. But I was even impressed with PlayStation 1. So maybe 10 years' time, it's going to be Ready Player One. And actually, I think we can do the payment also there. So in the virtual space, we first meet each other and then meet in real later on. So you're the one with a dog face. And probably the economy. I think it's going to be active in virtual space. Well, I think that's the way it should be. So in that case, what will be the market size of the ordinary film and the VR market size? How different would that be?
So VR being used as visiting a virtual reality town, probably it's not going to be compete with ordinary films. Well, it is competing, but it is like getting into this virtual reality together and going to the movie theater in VR.
やっぱその映画館で見るのは 2D 映画だと。
So going to the theater will be just the ordinary films. Maybe, probably so. So VR will make you feel dizzy after several minutes. If you, so we can't really make long films. Oh, yes, it makes you sick, kind of seasick. So long versions in VR is going to be difficult, and depending on how you make it, it's going to be difficult. Well, I believe we will get used to it. But people who get dizzy very easily might feel sick. But I believe that it's not going to compete with the traditional films. Well, but with the ordinary films, the POV images, if you watch it for over an hour, it will make you sick. These movies that are taken from someone's perspective, it does make you feel dizzy and sick, but I believe it's all about getting used to it and depending on the viewer. But most people felt sick when they board an airplane, but nowadays you don't see many people getting sick on an airplane. So it's all about getting used to things. Well, VR is something like a ride, not like a film, rather, it's like a ride. It's like writing a story in a sense. But for example, let's say in the future, you have these VR monitors. Right now we are wearing goggles, but let's say we can watch VR movies using contact lens.
もう1ヶ月、要するに1ヶ月つけて
And
ても、
let's say that you can wear it for 1 month, you can sleep with your contact lens on, and it's okay. And when that happens,
現実なのかどうなのかっていうのはもう分からない
it may become very difficult to distinguish between reality and virtual reality. That sounds a bit scary, and that will bring you to the world of Total Recall. But yes, I believe that's a possible future. Already, in movies, you see these contact lens with monitors in these spy movies, like the ones with Tom Cruise. But in reality, also, in several decades' time, it is going to become true. And also, the VR world will come in the future. And maybe people, whichever direction you look, you will find mountains or you will feel the wind and feel as if you are on top of Mount Everest the moment you wake up.
なるのかな、そうか。
Maybe really will we see such a future? Because already we have these glasses, glasses that work as monitors. Next, it's going to be contact lens.
まあそうなってくるともう
And if that happens,
そっちの方が心地いいから、
maybe that feels better and you want to live in that virtual world. Yes, and the economy also will shift towards the VR world. So we might have a new nation being built in VR. And if it's contact lens, when you look at your hands, maybe it's the hands of your avatar. Even if you are 80 years old, you have hands like a youngster.
まあそうそうお時間も差し迫ってきて
And now I am conscious of time, so
発達していくわけじゃない。
so VR is going to develop toward the future, and it is spreading, and it may have many avenues into the market. And I have asked this to Shimizu-san, but for the two of you as well, I would like to ask you to give out some advice to people who want to challenge VR. And what kind of imagination is stirred through using VR? Maybe in the form of an advice, if you can talk to the audience. Who would like to start? Oh, then Ueda-san. No, seniors first. Okay, Nishimura-san first. Well, as we've been saying, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of opportunities. And right now, we need some sort of tool. And there's a lot of restrictions about what we can do and what we need to do in order to create the VR world. But I believe it's going to get easier and easier as we go along. So maybe you wear something over your eyes and then you see a lot of things, and then as it spreads, it will turn into something totally different from what we know today. Senior people like me, and may be difficult, but maybe young people will be more accepting the VR world. So maybe right now, because it's difficult to use, I don't want people to hesitate and stop using them. I'm probably going to have to force myself into using it and trying new things so that it doesn't stop developing. Thank you. And then now the junior director. So my advice to people who want to create VR, and also including what kind of imagination VR will really extract from people. Well, probably. So right now we have VR, and it's just starting. We are using VR to create fiction and stories, and or you might want to use VR so that you feel as if you are here in Hawaii. I believe there's a lot of infinite ways to use VR. There are a lot of things that haven't been explored yet or haven't been discovered yet on how to use it. So I hope people experience it and start creating ideas about how to use it. Well, I'm wondering who the people are who want to use VR.
思うんですよね。なんか
わかります。
第一人者といえば今
So,
誰なのかこう
who are the most advanced, or what are the platforms? It's still unclear right now. But once those things become clear, I believe it's going to explode and start spreading really quickly.
そう思います。
Yes, indeed, I agree.
最後言った方がいいんじゃないのこうやって VR を止めるな。
So maybe we should say, don't stop VR.
とかじゃないんですよ僕。
No, I don't think I'm an advocate.
まあ今とりあえずハードの進歩が
So right now we are
面白いところまで来てるな。
at an interesting point where a lot of hardware is being developed for VR. And that's why we have these festivals like this.
ざわざわし始めたぞ。
And so we start feeling the buzz starting.
実はもう一つ視聴者から
And there is another question to Ueda-san.
清水さんと西村さんが非常に仲良さそう。
So Nishimura-san and Shimizu-san seem to be very friendly with each other. So Ueda-san, who would you want to work with? That's the question for you. Do you have any ideas about what directors you want to work together with? Well, we need to be really close, or else we can't really co-direct together.
こう距離が詰まってるか、まあ、もしくはめちゃくちゃ全然多分タイプ
Or maybe somebody who is totally different from me would be good to work together with.
だからまあ結婚できるかどうかですよね。
So it's whether you can get married with that person. Yes. So maybe you have fights with each other, but that doesn't last long. Yes, that's important. Otherwise, we just be careful of each other and just end up with that. So whether I can really go to bed with Shimizu Takashi, can you go to bed with him? I'm fine. Really?
いやだからそう全然タイプの違う
So a person with completely different type,
パッと思い浮かん
I can't remember someone, or probably someone who is of a different age. For example, Mr. Yamada Yoshi, to partner up with him.
面白そうですけど
Well, that sounds interesting.
この世界観を
I'd like to see what kind of a creation you can come up with.
こうなんていうんですかねもう
So if you're that different,
えいやってやれる気もする
I think that you can really be determined to work together. Well, yes, that's going to be really interesting, and I would like to see that.
と逆に
So in case of VR,
二人の方がいいという事例ができたりとか
maybe two is better than one director.
右側の視点と左側の視点そうそう
For example, the perspective of the right-hand side and perspective of left-hand side. Well, in case of fiction, that could be, and someone who's good at taking back.
あるかもしれない。
Well, yes, that could be the case
こっちに目線が行くしとか。
because someone, the other director, probably can think together. Well, maybe that person doesn't have to be co-director, but I think we need to have someone who can advise us about the different perspectives. So the director's perspective is like God's perspective, but in case of 3D, you don't know where you look. So probably you need to have some multiple perspectives. And if that becomes normal, I think it's going to be interesting.
こうアドバイスしてくれる人っていう
Someone who gives us an advice.
人がやっぱこう VR の世界
I think in case of VR,
こうガツガツこうって言ってくれる人がね
I-
結構少ないというか
there aren't many people who can give advice proactively because VR
こう結構開発されて
is still
短い部分もあるのかもしれない
something that is new and has only come out. So there aren't many people who tell us what to do or who would support our idea, and that's the kind of person that we're looking for. So VR directors, is there anyone who calls themselves a VR director? Oh yes, we need someone like that. Probably they are doing both jobs, like live action directors doing the VR directors. And if we have more people, I think then we'll have VR directors. They are the people who are well versed in computers. So many of them very gentle and composed. Many of them are gentle. But I think we need someone who's really proactive. But I think we are going to have someone who will be giving advice really in a frank manner and actively, aggressively, maybe. So I think it's about time. Well, thank you very much to two of you. So I have to summarize. So this is for the viewers, but I'm repeating myself. But VR, just as two directors said, well, something that is developing and it's about to complete. And already in this stage, it's very amazing. But it's still at the beginning. If we have more know-how, I think we can utilize that more to entertainment. So in that sense, I think we're going to have VR directors or all the directors that participated here today would do the trial and error and improve the technology. So it's like expanding the reality or give a perspective of the reality from different angle. So what would happen from VR? We asked two directors or three directors, and it sounds really interesting, and we look forward to that. So thank you very much, two directors. What about the cryptocurrency and to make money? Well, maybe in different occasion. Anyway, just buy cryptocurrency now. So maybe we give that to another occasion. Well, thank you very much.
イベントご出演者の皆さん、ありがとうございました。さて、ここからはビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式ナビゲーターの届きゆかから改めて映画祭についてお知らせです。日本初の VR 映画に特化した国際映画祭ビヨンドザフレームフェスティバルは2月12日金曜日から21日日曜日まで10日間にわたって開催中です。3作品にアワードが授与される本映画祭の審査員は映画監督の園志音さん、作家・画家の大宮エリーさん、ブランドコンサルタントで株式会社スピーディー社長の福田敦さんという豪華なメンバー。さらにアンバサダーにはコムアイさんが就任。僕、映画祭公式ナビゲーターの届きゆかもバーチャルの世界で生きる者として VR の様々な表現の発展を応援していきますので、皆様どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。もしよろしければ本日のイベントのご感想や VR 映画を体験いただいたご感想を SNS で投稿いただけたらとっても嬉しいです。その際はハッシュタグ BTFF2021 ハッシュタグ VR 映画でお願いします。また今日のアーカイブ映像は後日映画祭公式 YouTube チャンネルで3ヶ月間配信されますので、そちらもご覧ください。映画祭について詳しく知りたい方はビヨンドザフレームフェスティバル公式サイトをご覧ください。それでは皆様ご視聴ありがとうございました。